Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast. Have you ever heard the phrase, nurses eat their young? Feeding Our Young is more than a podcast, it's a movement. It's a desire to see new nurses of all ages be supported and uplifted by their peers. And it starts with me, and it starts with you. So join host Eric Miller, registered nurse of nearly 20 years and adjunct clinical instructor, and today's honored guest, me, Katie Kunda, and be ready to have your life uplifted so you can, in turn, uplift others. Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Feeding Our Young podcast. I am so excited for today. First of all, it is a Monday morning and it is just a few minutes after 8 a.m. For many people, that brings dread. It brings sorrow. It brings, butt-clenching anxiety. Who knows? Because it's Monday. But this Monday's awesome. Why is this Monday awesome? This Monday's awesome because I have an incredible human being in studio, and I've already got a glimpse of some of the things that she wants to talk about, including one particular topic she's super passionate about that may or may not take up a second episode. Who knows? We'll find out. That's a lot of expectations to drop on her here in the first 40 seconds of the episode, but I know that she can handle it. So without further ado, quit flapping my gums, the one, the only Katie Kunda. Katie, how are you this fine morning?
Good. How are you?
You know, I gotta tell you, I've been a lifelong Seahawks fan. Grew up in the Seattle area, right? So I'm doing pretty good.
Super Bowl.
This is being recorded, everyone. In between the divisional round and the NFC Championship round, where we have to face the Rams.
I gotta say though, I'm secretly hoping that the Patriots make it, so that way we can have another Seahawks-Patriots face-off, and then we can just take their season.
I am telling you what,
it'll be really entertaining.
People are calling it like it would be the ultimate quote-unquote revenge tour, is to go through the 49ers,
yes,
go through the Rams, and then beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm like, that's a tall order. All of those are big asks. So, I don't know, one step at a time, just like Mike McDonald says. But we're not here about the Seahawks. We're here about Katie and Katie's incredible life and all things nursing, and maybe a few things not nursing. But before we go down that road, let's start with the traditional opening questions. So, Katie, if you don't mind introducing yourself, and where has home been for you, and where is home for you?
Well, I currently live in Spokane, which is my new home. I was born and raised in the greater Seattle area. So, shout out to Snohomish, Washington.
Yes.
So, born and raised in Snohomish, and then lived the last 10 years-ish. Prior to last year in Renton, working and living in Renton. And then last year we made the great migration, as we call it, and a bunch of my family and me, and we moved over to this side of the state, and kind of East Idaho. So
in covered wagons over mountain passes, yeah, and avoiding dysentery, right?
You know, with AC bottoming out and the moving trucks and moving grandma. Yeah, it felt like a great migration.
Oh my gosh. I've had to do a 1 day trip. It was a 16-hour trip from Spokane to South Dakota, and then another 1 day trip back with only a few days in between with my mom in tow. And so migration, I feel you, my friend. I feel you 100%. That was not a highlight of my life, that's for sure. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So, Katie, I might have let the cat already out of the bag. Are you already a nurse? If so, what degrees do you hold and where did you get them?
Yes, I am an RN. I work in the ER, the ED, and have been there for the last 4.5 years. Coming up.
Love it.
But
Love it.
Yeah, so I graduated from Northwest University over in the Seattle area. It's in Kirkland. So a small little school up in Kirkland. That's where I went to school.
That is incredible. And so having been through nursing school and now a nurse yourself and maybe more, what are the 3 words you chose to describe nursing school?
Ooh, turbulent, uncharted territory, and foundational. Those are my 3 words.
Foundational. I love it. 3.5 words. Uncharted territory has a hyphen in it, I'm sure, somewhere.
Yes, we can throw it in.
And then your 3 favorite songs in life right now.
So I'm going to go against the grain a little bit. I didn't pick 3 songs. I picked 3 artists because my taste in music is so eclectic.
Let's go.
I am showing the geek side of me. One of my favorite genres of music is soundtrack scores. So, yes. So my 3 artists that I chose were Hans Zimmer, Austin Snell, and Illenium. So we got a little country, we got a little EDM, we got a little soundtrack. It's like I said.
I knew I liked you for a reason. I love my soundtracks, and I mean, you're talking like Pirates of the Caribbean, you're talking Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, of course, John Williams being a classic. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so then, before we dive into you and your nursing journey, which I understand my preview says is a little atypical, would that be correct?
Yes. It was not your typical journey.
I love it. Before we do that, what do you want to share with us about your wonderful, loving family that you just talked about making this great migration with?
Well, I have 2 lovely parents. I am the middle child. I have an older sister and a younger brother. My older sister and her family, she's married and she's got 2 boys, so my 2 nephews. My sister and her family and my parents live over in Idaho. And we moved my last living grandparent over to my mom's mom. And then my brother stayed over in Seattle, so he's over there.
Awesome.
And that's my little family.
Awesome. And then you may or may not have someone in your own home who you love dearly. Tell us about that individual.
My fur baby.
Yeah.
Rudy. And I'm going to say his name. He's going to come running out here. Rudy's he's my crackhead is what I call him. He is a golden retriever, but he didn't get that memo. So he's really a Belgian Malinois in a golden retriever body. Very mouthy, very high drive, very high energy. We had to do some professional training to get it all under control, but he's a rescue.
Oh my gosh.
So love him dearly.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Well, that's amazing, and who knows, maybe we'll have a little presence of Rudy here before all is said and done.
Maybe. He's being good right now, sleeping away, so.
Not wanting to hog the spotlight from you at the moment.
Just unusual.
All right, well then, let's start with this nursing journey that you've already teased. Why is your nursing journey so atypical? What do you want to share about this wonderful thing?
Many reasons. First off, I was one to wait for school. I don't know, I took my time with the prereqs. I lived it up in my 20s and had a good time, and then decided kind of in my later 20s that I needed to buckle down and get moving.
Yeah.
And then when I did decide to get moving and get into nursing school and start that, then COVID hit. So I went to school through COVID. And so again, very different, very, I said uncharted territory. That's definitely a piece of that, because that was new and undiscovered territory. Yeah, we winged it is the best way to describe nursing school through COVID. So went to nursing school through COVID and started my career right after COVID. And again, a lot of unconventional opportunities coming out of nursing school. COVID was pretty lucrative. I could talk for hours on all of that. But so I kind of took advantage of that, did some vaccine stuff. Ran a vaccine team was one of the jobs that I did kind of in the public health realm right out of school. But so just kind of unconventional all around. I could go for hours on that, but.
And as I understand this unconventionality of you, I think one way you referred it to me when I first was talking with you was you kind of considered yourself a jack of all trades, learning all sorts of different things. So I love that you kind of give a nice little brief synopsis of your career. Let's take each era for what it is, which brings me to another question just about you. If you could have a meal with someone, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Oh, I think I said Taylor Swift. Um, and it's not for your typical reasons. Um, I well, I do love Taylor Swift, just so there's that. But
Yeah.
she also has had a pretty unconventional journey, if you will, through her career with her music. And just the I don't know how you describe it. Just she went through a lot. A
Yeah.
lot of ups and downs, a lot of relationships, a lot of bullying, a lot of we talk about eating our young in the nursing world, and I feel like she kind of got a lot of that in the music world of
Hmm.
eating your young. And so I don't know. I would love to pick her brain um about her journey and how she managed through that. So yeah.
Awesome. And my apologies to listeners, my OCD listeners out there who are like, no, this is not the order you go in. You're doubling back and doing an opening question. What are you doing? Because my own brain said that too. But I said era and I had to say that. So,
Yes.
so
I'm
in
in my
that,
nursing era.
you're in your nursing era. So let's start with the pre-nursing era, because you talk about living it up in your 20s. I think I know what maybe some of that means. So enlighten us. What kind of things have you done prior to nursing and or did in between school and deciding you wanted to become a nurse?
Well, that's an interesting question because I decided I wanted to become a nurse in high school.
Oh, then let's take it all the way back. Why did you want to become a
Yes.
nurse? Yeah.
Well, I love science and I love situations. I love leadership. I love I don't know, science, the human body, and that sort of thing. And so it was kind of the culmination of all of those things. We had a lot of friends, family friends who were nurses. And so a project that I had in my high school science classes, we had to do a job shadow and then do a report on that job shadow. And with all of our family friends who were nurses, it just made sense to job shadow a nurse, and I loved it. So I ended up actually doing multiple job shadows in different specialties. And then I used my project to compare and contrast because I don't know, I got the overachiever itch at that time. So decided to do it that way. Um, and so I did NICU, L&D, and ER. Loved mother baby, hated ER. In fact, I said I would never, ever do ER ever, no matter what. And look how that turned out for me. But so that
You'll
was
never say never, right?
okay. My nursing instructors in school had a saying, you never say never and you never say always. Nursing does not use absolutes. So
Oh, I
that's
like that.
that's what I take is you never say never and you never say always. I I quickly discovered that a lot of counselors in school don't, I mean, there's so many ways to get there and so many different kind of licensures out there. And there wasn't, at least for me at that time, there wasn't a lot of information. And so I knew I wanted to go into nursing. I just didn't know how I wanted to get there and what kind of licensure I wanted to do, whether that was an ADN, LPN, BSN. I mean, there's just kind of there's so much out there. And
Yeah.
so I took my time and did prereqs at the community college and kind of drug my feet, if you will. And yeah, I kind of lived it up. I did some traveling. And Eric, I know you and I had previously talked about I did dabble in some modeling or in the fashion world in Seattle for a time, and then worked as a nanny household manager. So that was kind of, I did a bunch of different things, did a little brief little stint in real estate, doing like office management, office work. So yeah, I kind of dipped my toes all over in different things.
Literally a Jack or a Jacqueline of all trades, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's. Oh, that's incredible. And I imagine that many of those experiences have kind of helped informed your nursing career. Yes.
Yes, and again, something that we had talked about is when we found out we had a mutual friend, and that friend was in the fashion world, and that's kind of how we knew that mutual friend. You had asked me about that, and I had told you that there was a time where right after I got into nursing school, because I had dabbled in modeling and fashion, and had a friend that was on the business side of things, and so he actually bought the trademark for Seattle Fashion Week and decided that he wanted to go through and do the nonprofit route, but he needed somebody to start a nonprofit to do that. And that person ended up being me. So I spent literally my entire Nursing Foundations 101 class writing a 30, 40 page policies and procedures manual. And yeah, I just learning all the. I loved it though. You know, people are like, "Oh man, that sounds so boring or dry." It's not. I'm a technical person, so it was my bread and butter.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And we're gonna name drop here because this story is actually kind of funny. It's one of those things where I met Katie through Gonzaga, where we are both employed, and just recently. And I'm like, just recently met, not just recently employed. Well, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But the point is, I meet Katie, and okay, great. So, and she's like, yeah, you've got a podcast? What in the world? Let's go. I want to talk. I said, let's go. And so, that's always dangerous when you get two talkers in one confined space. But as part of that, then typically, I'll look them up and okay, well, there's Katie on Facebook, and I'll, we'll friend request. And then the whole mutual friend thing is always like, it's just, the whole 6 degrees of separation and all the things. And I see that she knows this person named Sarah Warnock. We'll name drop here.
Shout out Sarah.
Shout out Sarah. And so to give you both sides of this coin, Katie, again, how do you know Sarah?
Sarah does hair and makeup. Mm-hmm. And so she had done hair and makeup for some photo shoots and some runway shows that I was on.
And so I'm like, these are two, having known Katie for all of an hour or two, I was like, these are two lovely people who have met in some form of life. And it totally makes sense given what Sarah does. And so I wrote Katie, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Sarah. Sarah, I knew all the way back in middle school. And in the Seattle area, we both went to Sequoia Junior High. She was a class or two above me. And but what I will always remember about Sarah is that there are pictures out there of me that are maybe some would consider unseemly. And I was an awkward,
yeah, did
gangly
she do your
nerd.
Hair and makeup for them?
No hair and makeup that time. But oh my gosh, no, she was like one of the few people who were kind to me in 7th grade. And like, I almost want to get choked up talking about it because she treated me like a human being, even though like from the outside looking in, she had it all together. She was it appeared to be part of the popular crowd, all the things, but she was always very kind to me, accepting, even though I had these big old glasses, a mullet that was well past anything that would look decent, braces, all the things like, and she just saw that I was a human being. And so huge shout out to Sarah and turning the attention back to Katie. I love how life does that and brings us together in that way. So, you talk about, we kind of get through those 20s, you're living your life, you're taking your prereqs, you get into nursing school. And then you talk about, one of the bullet points you wanted to talk about was using your voice during COVID. And I'm really intrigued by that statement because you did not elaborate on the notes. Therefore, I, just like the rest of you, dear listeners, get to find out what that means. So talk to us about going through nursing school and COVID and how'd you use your voice and what happened?
Yeah, that's a good question. So COVID hit about halfway through nursing school, and nobody quite knew what to do. I mean, they were pulling us all out of the hospitals. They were not allowing us to go in and do clinicals. We had to resort to online, virtual classes. And it was just a lot of unknown and a lot of trying to pivot. And part of that is, how do we push through nursing school? How do we continue? And I'm kind of speaking almost from an educator's standpoint of like, how do we get the students back into clinical? How do we get them back in the classroom? How do we try to keep things moving and in a way that's, going to fulfill the requirements and get them to graduation and do all the things? And so because of that, there were a lot of upper level decisions that were made. And I will say this, it is a smaller private school. It is also a Christian university. And they definitely operate with traditional values. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it's just like a more traditional culture.
Yeah.
And so a lot of decisions were being made higher up, and there wasn't a lot of buy-in necessarily from the students and their standpoint. And again, granted, everything is very new. So, they're learning on the go, just like we're learning on the go. And
Hmm.
so there were a lot of decisions that were made without, like I said, without a lot of buy-in from students, and a lot of executive decision making on how things are going to go. And some of those decisions and some of the way certain things, and I'm kind of speaking vaguely on purpose here, but some of
Yeah.
the some of the way things kind of went about um, rustled some feathers a little bit and stepped on some toes. And so
Wait,
I
during the
being
pandemic, this happened even on the west side of the state as well? I
I
can't
know,
believe this.
shocker. Yes,
And I mean, and to just a caveat, forgive me for interrupting, but like you're talking
that's okay.
about, you're trying to do this tactfully, of course, because we're not here to bash any
Yes.
institution, bash any
And I will say now,
organization.
being an educator, I understand the other side. So
Uh
there's
huh.
there's that too. So
Yeah, and like you said, we're all in that time. It was the joke in the hospital was like, well, what new rules are today? You know what I mean? How are we going to
yeah,
get by today? It wasn't, we're going to forecast for the quarter. We're going to forecast for the year. It was, all right, here's the new rules for
we're gonna
today.
forecast for today.
Yes, and then we'll worry about tomorrow. So anyway, sorry, I
No,
appreciate your
yeah,
tactfulness in that, but just so everybody knows, obviously and everybody who's listening to this who was either in nursing school or a nurse or in healthcare knows exactly what you're talking about. So continue.
yes, yes. And so with that, and me being one of the older students to a university that has a very similar demographic to Gonzaga, a very typically young demographic, fresh out of high school. This is that, they're going to university and going to college, and um, me having had quite a bit of life and life experience leading up to nursing school. Um, I kind of there was me and there was a couple others that were pretty outspoken, I think is the word that was
There you
used.
go.
And so there was a lot of me and us, a couple of the other older students that voiced or spoke for our cohort. So much so, in fact, that after graduation, my old dean, Erin Joy Bjorga, shout out Erin Joy.
Aaron Joy.
Um, yes, she actually reached out to me. She emailed me and she had said, I know that you were very outspoken and had a lot to say. And she went on to say that she really appreciated that it never came from a place of just wanting to complain and rip things down. It was more of, hey, this isn't sitting well with us, or hey, this is happening, and here are our concerns, and here's some possible solutions, and how do we fix it. And so she reached out to me and asked to meet with me after graduation, and I said yes. And so we got to sit down for a couple hours and just chat about the good, the bad, and the ugly of nursing school, and what went well, what didn't go well, and how can we, if we encounter something like this, God forbid, again, how
Yeah.
can we how can we do things? And she knew that I was about to venture off into a cross cultural mission, and she had said, "Oh my gosh, would you come back and be willing to talk on that?" And I said yes. And we've kept in touch ever since, and she's a dear mentor to me. I love her dearly. Um, and that was my intro into education. So here I am actually now
Oh.
as an official educator.
Oh my gosh. And I just love, like, and at the risk of hammering a couple, things that nursing students, and when you're in nursing school and you hear things and you're like, one of these words has a positive connotation, and sometimes I feel like the other one has a negative one, but here it is nursing school. And yet there is still a level of advocacy, not just for yourself, but you're saying you and a
Mm-hmm.
few others using your voices on behalf of the whole class. And then SBAR. I mean, there's an example of SBAR right there. You're like,
Yeah.
we're not coming at it from a standpoint of let's burn the place down or how dare you. And kind of what we see a lot in modern, society right now is just, oh, this outrages me. And, and maybe rightfully so. But when we come at it from a standpoint of, hey, let's try and fix this, as opposed to, I can't believe this is the way it's going. This is stupid. Period. End of discussion. So do you have advice for students who maybe are listening to you and going, oh my gosh, like I am terrified to even speak up for myself, let alone other people. Like, there are going to be times where we just have to advocate for ourselves and for each other's. And so for those that are maybe a little more timid to do so, what would be your advice in this moment?
I would say it's all about taking the big feelings, because I think that it's very natural to feel a certain type of way about things. And I think it's a life skill to then be able to take those big feelings and to be able to put that into productive words. And I think part of that comes with a little bit of life experience and just getting older, and you kind of just learn how to do that. But I would just say that's the key, is like, you can feel any sort of way, but then how do you make that productive? Like, you can be pissed off and mad and say, well, that's not fair. And okay, well, what's going to make it fair? And how do you voice what you feel in a way that is going to be received and do so in a productive way, I guess.
And I'll piggyback off.
Does that count as advice, Eric?
100%.
Okay.
Because I'm going to piggyback right off of it in the flip version of that. And let's flip it on its head and say those feelings, let's say they're positive. Let's say you're excited about something and you are an advocate for X, Y, or Z, or you're passionate about X, Y, or Z. And yet, anyone know those people in life that are obnoxiously like that way? And I'm raising my hand here not as one who's known, but I've been guilty of being that person. Like, just because I'm passionate about something doesn't mean that someone else is gonna be. And so you kind of have to, I mean, I don't want to distill it into
buy-in, right? Like, how do you get the buy-in from the other party? Yeah.
On either side,
Yeah.
Whether you are passionate about it, well, you're passionate about it either way, whether it's a positive moving thing or we're really worried about this development. You know what I mean? In either of those, that's it. You're trying to get buy-in. I love that summary. So, Katie, then, you're going through nursing school, you're doing this advocacy, and, just give us a glimpse, this atypical nursing career, which you've already given us a little glimpse into. How did you end up working in the Never?
Yes. Yes, because when I went into nursing school, I said, I want to do mother baby, but I will do anything else except for ER. Like, I will never do the emergency department, ever. I ended up through nursing school working as a nurse tech. If nursing students are looking for one piece of advice, this is what I literally beat them over the head with: get a nurse tech job. Like, that is the single best thing that you can do in nursing school, is get a nurse tech job. And so I got a nurse tech job at Harborview, of all places, which, for those who don't know, who are not familiar with the Seattle area, Harborview is our level 1 trauma center. And it's the only level 1 trauma center in back then it was a 5-state region. But now I think that they've hospitals shifted and changed a little bit, but it still serves as a really big region, and they get a lot. And as a nurse tech, I would be the first to float to other floors, and so I floated a lot to one of our trauma inpatient floors. And I distinctly remember the moment that it clicked in my head. I was floating to this unit, and one of the nurses approached me and goes, "You're a nurse tech, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, what semester are you?" And I told her I'm senior year. She goes, "Okay, so you've covered the basics of wound care, right?" And I said, "Yeah, that's something we did last semester." She goes, "Okay, cool. You're going to come with me." And I said, "Okay, what am I getting myself into here?" And she carries in I always joke, she carries in a fentanyl lollipop, because that's something that I use on the inside there. And for like oral medications to last longer, slow release. But She carried in the wound care supplies and the fentanyl lollipop, and she goes, "You're going to do it. You're going to do all the wound care for this patient." And it was a patient with necrotizing fasciitis who had gone in for treatment
Oh,
and basically had half of his thigh missing down to the bone. So it was, I hate to sound crass, and those who don't work in healthcare, I apologize ahead of time. This is totally a nursing thing, but it was like having a live cadaver. I don't know how else to explain it. You could see all the
mm-hmm.
bones, all the tendons. It was like being in the OR without the patient actually being in the OR. And everything from knee to groin. And so she had me do full
Mm.
wound care on this trauma patient and or this necrotizing fasciitis patient. And I went home on a high. I was like, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen, I have ever done, and I want more of that. And that was the beginning of the end for me for emergency medicine.
Wow. I mean, like, literally in one moment, one experience that it sounds like, I mean, most people would want to probably pee their pants being told they're going into the situation. I don't, like, was your anxiety level high? It sounds like you're pretty
Oh
even
yes.
keeled, but yeah,
Oh
you're like,
yes. No, no, no.
I'm gonna,
Anxiety's through the
okay.
roof.
Yeah.
Heart beating out of my chest.
And I mean, we're all in the midst of the release of the second season of the show, The Pit. And
Yes.
you're bringing me straight to episode 2. There is a new character who is a new nursing grad, which obviously piques my interest even more than I was already piqued in the show. But I'm like,
Side
okay,
note, when they
yeah,
walked into that room in the second episode with the nursing student and they were taking off the cast, I literally said from the get-go, and I was like, they're going to take off the cast and they're going to find maggots. And they
yeah.
took off the cast and she's like pale, looking like she's about to, yeah, that was.
By the way, spoiler alert, everybody, if you haven't seen episode 2. I mean, by the time this comes out, if you haven't seen episode 2, that's on you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. But my
Well,
wife,
it's not
who...
the biggest spoiler out there.
No, exactly. And my wife who is non-medical is like, oh, they're not gonna. I know
Yep.
it's gonna be under there. And I'm
Yep.
like, yeah, 100%. Like everybody already knows. So,
Yep.
oh my gosh, no, I love that, and I love that. So, like, I guess then, because I get a lot of students that are like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, my advice is always keep your yes list, your no list, and then your maybe list. You know what I mean? If you definitely know, like early on for me, ED, ICUs, no thank you. I crossed that off very easily. And then never saying never, but pretty reasonably assured, this is not happening for me. That's not my desire. This is kind of where I'm leaning, da-da-da. But that being said, like I get a lot of students that are always, you know what I mean? Like, well, I'm senior year. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know where I want to go. Great. That means you have more opportunities, right? Like there's more opportunities available to you than, say, the narrow-minded me who's like, I want to do peds oncology. That's what I want to do. And then maybe I'm setting myself up for, you know what I mean? Like this disappointment and failure and things like that. But I digress. Katie, like, can you kind of open up the door into just how you felt? You know what I mean? Like, you're thinking maybe labor and delivery, you kind of enjoyed that, you said. And then this ED component comes later as a nurse tech. So how do you feel going, prior to that? And then how do you make the adjustment internally? You're set, you've got the compass pointed in one direction, and all of a sudden you're now exposed to this brand new experience that goes, oh my gosh, no, I want more of that, I'm going this way. Like, is it just a natural, like, boom, I'm ready to go? Was there a period of like reconciling this with what you thought you wanted to do? Like, take us through that feeling.
Yes. I still wasn't totally convinced when I graduated. Like I knew I really loved that. I knew that had kind of ignited a certain level of passion, but I wasn't totally convinced. I still kind of thought, well, maybe I like higher acuity, but I still kind of want to do peds because like that nanny piece of me definitely was still in there. And I loved working with kids and I kind of wanted to bridge that together. So I still kind of was like, I don't know. I was definitely on the fence trying to come to grips with like, do I really like I kind of still want peds, but like I don't know. And it was a friend of mine, shout out John Menlove, who is a friend of mine, and he had a daughter, and I filled in and babysat and nannied a little bit for them. But he is a nurse and now works in sales, but was a nurse. And he's literally graduated. He took one look at me and he goes, you need the ER. Like, you need it. And I was like, but I don't know, like maybe peds ER. I'm like literally bartering back and forth, like, but maybe I can still have the peds piece. Let's do like peds ER.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have, there is no peds trauma in Seattle. They have Harborview, which is our level 1 trauma center, and then they have Seattle Children's Hospital. And Seattle Children's is not necessarily equipped to take pediatric trauma. So the way that it works over there is the peds will actually go to Harborview first, they're stabilized, and then shipped out to Seattle Children's.
Gotcha.
So with there not being any like peds trauma sort of thing in that area, I was like, well then maybe peds ICU? I don't know. And my friend John goes, no, you need ER. So I applied to Seattle Children's. I dug in my heels and applied to Seattle Children's and didn't make it. Actually applied twice and again didn't make it twice. And John goes, just freaking do the ER. Like this is what you should do. This is totally you. I think you would kill it in the ER. And I finally just gave in. I said, okay, all right, and applied and ended up making it into a residency program. And that's when the tumultuousness really begins. But yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to pick your ER brain for a second. And there's two key topics under this umbrella that I want to. So, because you've been doing ER for how long again?
4 years now.
Okay. So that's what I thought I remember you saying.
4 years. Yeah.
It's been 38 minutes of you and I talking, and somehow I needed to verify that fact. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how do you, because it just lends itself to, how are you, you're 4.5 years in this ER career. ER is notorious for burning nurses out, for, making them not only change, specialties, but maybe just changing the profession altogether. Yes. How are you, do you have any safeguards in place? What are you doing to protect yourself from burnout?
I tell everyone, get a therapist. Even if you think you're okay until you're not okay anymore. Mm-hmm. And as was the case with me. So I am a big proponent of therapy. They have specially trained therapists out there. I found out in my therapy journey for first responders and, equivalent would be, ER nursing. Which is kind of a branch off-ish sort of. Mm-hmm. And so, that's what I did. I got a therapist. So that's one of my self-care pieces there, which has helped tremendously. And I would just say, pay attention to the signs, because there will be signs. You will be highly emotional. You can lose your patience and start realizing that the patience that you had before with patients and coworkers isn't the same as it is now. And so there's little bits and pieces that kind of speak to you and whisper to you, and pay attention to them. I will say that something that I did is I didn't want to sacrifice working an experience just because I was burnt out. And so I found other ways and other things that I was passionate about to keep doing what I love to do, but not in the ER, not in the bedside, which I love the ER and I have my shifts that I work in the ER, but I also now teach. That's something that I became passionate about. And so that's a way that I still do what I love to do and exercise that nursing brain without going off the deep end in terms of burnout.
I love all of that advice, and I'll make it brief, but my family and I, a couple of our kids, my wife and myself, my wife loves natural disaster movies, and there's one that just got released that is called Greenland 2, and I had never heard of Greenland 1, let alone Greenland 2, and it's not like it's highly rated and anything like that, and I was like, well, I mean, this sounds like something my wife would be interested in, let's see if we want to go, but what you were just saying about the therapy piece, it was just a moment in the movie that was like, again, this isn't something that's like top 5 movies of all time. It just was one of those nice popcorn fillers. They try and, there's a bit of heart in it, but still didn't move me, and I'm a notorious crier in movies. But the long and the short of it is this: they're surviving in this bunker after this major natural disaster, and the idea is that this bunker may not hold. They're running out of supplies. Blah blah blah. And the main character, played by Gerard Butler, is talking to a counselor of sorts. And the counselor, I think, had said something along the lines of, well, because all these people are selected, right? The government sends these blurbs out to their cell phones. You've been selected. Take your family. Meet here. Hush, hush. They're not, giving them details. And you would think, right, doctors, nurses, he was a structural engineer, so, rebuilding buildings, literally. And but the counselor's like, and that's why they selected a lot of us counselors, because they knew that everybody would need the mental health help. And I just thought that was a really nice, unneeded, but
Solid
definitely beneficial touch. Yeah, like just a great touch to the movie. Like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Anyway, there's one other topic. So obviously, we haven't even gotten to what you're most passionate about. You're definitely a two-parter. It's obvious. But there is one topic that I still feel fits great under this umbrella. And again, your experience in the ED, because you kind of mentioned it briefly. We like to focus on the positive, not the negative. But that being said, there's a reason why this podcast is titled Feeding Our Young. What have you seen in this phenomenon of eating our young, and how have you navigated that?
I will say, as a new grad, it's very hard to go into nursing. And I don't mean to belittle anyone's experience, but it's even harder to not just go into nursing, but to go into a high acuity nursing field, things like ICU and ER. It is high pressure, high performance expectations, low threshold for mistakes, both in like patience and tolerance of your peers, and then also just because mistakes in all of nursing are life and death, but even more so in critical care settings. And it's a dog eat dog world. The ER is like, I don't even have words. I wish there was a way I could describe the culture of the ER. But it's like eat or be eaten. Like you sink or swim. And then you also have, of course, the peers that don't believe that new grads should be in those critical care specialties. You've kind of got that traditional school of thought, which a lot of nurses subscribe to, of nurses, new grads should start in med surg and then kind of work their way out from there. I don't necessarily agree for other reasons, but I do see why, just because of all the things that I had mentioned with that just kind of high performance expectation and just the expectations in your level of performance in emergency medicine. So definitely had peers that thought that I shouldn't be there. I had preceptors that wanted me to sink, not swim, to prove a point. Yeah, so it was rough. I'll also say that it's rough because within the ER, there's a lot of trying to prove yourself to, not just with the nurses, but with the other staff, with doctors or techs and things like that. And so it's everybody kind of wants a piece of the action. I don't know how to describe it, other than it can be really tough to hold your own, and to speak up and not kind of get squashed down in that setting. So I again started at an OSED, then went to a traditional ER, had quite the experience at that ER, and then actually because of the bullying, had a really rough experience where my patient passed away, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And so I ended up moving, and I moved out here.
What would you say to those nursing students, anyone who's listening to you going, man, I was really excited about doing ER nursing or these intense fields you're talking about, but now I'm not so sure based on what you're saying?
If you are going to go into a critical care setting right out of nursing school, you kind of have to be sure. You can't really be wishy-washy on it because it's going to test you and it's going to demand a lot of you. And so you really have to be certain. If you're on the fence, I I might suggest then going the med surg route and then kind of working your way into the ER or into the ICU. But yeah, with critical care specialties, just that level of expectation and demand, you really have to be like sure of your decision that that's where you want to go, because it's the only way that you're gonna really survive it.
Well, then very briefly then, would you say that there are some days that especially going into a field like that, it takes all of your passion for that field, for that subject, for that specialty to get you through to the next day on occasion?
On the rough days, yes.
Yeah.
It takes that passion. It takes that, no, this is what I want to do, to then get you through to the next day. Now, don't get me wrong, the good days are fantastic. And there are days where it clicks for you. Like, and we talk about this as educators all the time with our nursing students, where things that you're taught just kind of click into place and it all makes sense and you have that light bulb moment. And when you're a new grad in a critical care field, when those pieces start fitting together and that light bulb moment goes off and you're like, no, actually, I know what to do in this situation and I know what this patient needs. It's very fulfilling, and it's those pieces clicking. It's not just gives you like this emotional boost, but then it also boosts your ability to advocate when you can kind of see where this patient is going or see what this patient needs. It also boosts your ability to advocate, which when you do that, again, just feels all the greater. I don't know, all the better. So
yes,
I would say it's twofold. The good days really push you through, but then on the bad days, you really need that passion to be there to then keep on trucking.
I'm gonna, at the risk of, I don't know, I'm not a prototypical male in any way, shape, or form, but I'm gonna bring this back around to our previous little discussion about the Seahawks. And here's why. Because you just crystallized it in my mind for me. It's those moments where, as a fan, for me, like, you've got better teams and worse teams, right? The Rams are incredible. Other NFC teams, fantastic. The NFC overall was better, but there's other teams that are great, but not excellent. The Rams are one of those elite, excellent teams. The 49ers, with everything they went through, same story, all in the same division. So as a fan, I'm sitting there, everybody's like, oh, football, I'm tuning out. No, stay with me. Because what I'm saying is, as a fan, you find yourself rooting for these underdogs. Like, I'd rather face this guy, the Packers instead of the Rams, instead of the 49ers, because they're just division games. You never know what's going to happen. And you root for these, the lesser competition. And yet, then you go, oh, well, all right, we ended up with the 49ers. That's what, I didn't want it, but all right, that's what we're going to do. And then it makes, if the victory happens, it makes the victory, like you just said, that much sweeter. You're going to have those brutal days. You're going to be like, I wish I could go in today. Today I need a cake day. Today I need I don't want X, Y, or Z, whatever your specialty is. I don't want this horrible thing to happen. I just need a cake day today. And the day decides to present you with something different. And instead you get the Rams of your day. You get the worst situation possible. You get the most, not the worst, but the most challenging situation possible. And when you overcome that in your work setting, for your patient, with your peers, there is no greater feeling. And I feel like that's what you're saying too, Katie, right? Like, you're just like, it makes the victory over that situation that much sweeter. So we're already, I think we're close to an hour as it is here. You guys do not miss the part 2 of the Katie Kunda experience. Because Katie, what is that one passionate thing that you're going to be talking about?
I am going to be talking about cross-cultural nursing. And my time overseas in Africa. So
yes. All right. Do not miss this. This is going to be amazing. So let's go to the flip side, and we'll see you guys there. Here's what's happening on the next episode of Feeding Our Young.
If anyone's squeamish, don't listen to this podcast, or don't listen to this episode, I should say. But we had a gentleman that was in a motorbike accident, and with a tib fib fracture, and definitely a bad one. And he sat on a stretcher for 8 hours. And by the time he got in, and he came in right as I was getting in there in the morning, and I left in the afternoon, and he was still sitting on that stretcher, just hanging out, waiting for somebody to come pay the fee for him to be seen. And nobody really lays a finger on the patient until they pay up. And so it's a very different healthcare structure over there. It was very jarring. Literally having to send people home to die, because that did happen on occasion. And so it was they have very limited resources over there, and they do the best they can with the resources that they have. But a lot of times that means if somebody comes in and they're deemed, too far gone, then there's no resources that are invested in them, because it would be a waste of what little resources that they do have that could save somebody else.
Did you like today's episode of Feeding Our Young? Want to know more about the Feeding Our Young movement? Check out our website at feedingouryoung.org. Would you like to be featured on a future episode? Maybe have Eric bring his unique brand of encouragement to your nursing students or nurses? Please text us at 509-666-5636 or email us at info@feedingouryoung.org. We're so excited to have you return to hear our next honored guest. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Feeding Our Young LLC. Again, that's username Feeding Our Young LLC. Until next time, be encouraged and go find someone to encourage today.